Hello, today I'm talking about structuralism, and it is structuralist theory. What is structuralist theory in literature? It is the idea of Tyson. It is first slide. There are almost 3-4 slides I have made. So I'm talking about the first slide about the structuralism. Structuralist theory means searching structure. It is the structure of language. We are talking about language, not the structure of others, but the structure of language. Everywhere there is a structure. Structure is even in the construction of a building. There are various materials. They are necessary, essential for the construction of building. For making a cup of tea, we need the structure. For making curry, we need the structure of materials. So even making a literature, writing a literature, we need the structure. That is the structure of language, right? So structuralist theory in literature is to find the structure of language in literary text while interpreting them. What structures are there? Maybe binary opposition, maybe male and female, all right, ideas of male domination and female domination, maybe day and night, maybe dark and brightness. These are the structures. Finding opposition, finding binary oppositions, finding hierarchies, and so many things that can be the structure. So we are talking about the structure of the language. There are two fundamental structures of language. One is visible, another is invisible. Visible structure is known as surface structure, and invisible structure is known as deep structure. All right. The visible world consists of surface phenomena, which consist of all the countless objects, activities, and behaviors we observe, participate in, and interact with every day. So, visible structure means anything that can be seen. There are many countless activities, countless objects, countless behaviors that we observe, we participate in, we interact with day-to-day activities. That is called visible structure. The invisible world consists of the structures that underlie and organize all these phenomena so that we can make sense of them. They are just unseen, right? The structure of English vocabulary demonstrates approximately 31 phonemes, fundamental units of sound recognized as meaningful by native speakers of languages called phonemes, right? There are 31 phonemes, right? And the rules of their combination. There is the rules of combination of the phonemes and language and structures and rules of grammar. These are the structures. The structuralist theory in literature is to find the structure of language in literary text while interpreting them. There are two fundamental structures of language, one visible and other invisible, surface structure and deep structure. The visible world consists of surface phenomena, which consist of all the countless objects, activities, behaviors, and we participate. Yes, and then interact in every day. This invisible world consists of the structures that underlie and organize all the phenomena so that we can make sense of them. The structure of English, yes, 34, it is almost repeated. Let's see. But most of us are not aware of these phonemes, 31 phonemes, and cannot describe the rules of their combination. But our ability to use English vocabulary demonstrates that we have unconsciously internalized these structures. We have already internalized all the underlying structures, deep structure. We have internalized the language structure in our brain, and we automatically produce those structures. Our ability to construct simple sentences depends on our internalization through the grammatical structure subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement is already internalized through our cognition, through our internal structure of the brain, internal ideas of the brain, and we automatically produce the grammatical structure of the language in the form of subject-verb object. Without the structural system to govern communication, we would have no language at all. If we do not have any structural system to govern the communication, and we cannot have the language, it's communication in the day-to-day structure, day-to-day language, day-to-day activities. Structuring principles allow us to differentiate vegetables from stones and from all other kinds of physical matters. It is because of structure we call vegetable is vegetable and stones are stones. We differentiate the things because of structure. It is because of structures the world goes on. And even there in language, there is a structure, right? It is through the structure of the language we make the communication possible. The world we live in consists of innumerable events and objects, that is, innumerable surface phenomena. There are innumerable, uncountable, countless surface structures, surface phenomena we can see. But the structures that underlie and organize these phenomena are relatively few. Very few structures are there. But it is through the few structures we create large number of sentences, large number of utterances, right? Without these structures, our world would be chaos. Our world would be chaos, right? With the use of structures, we are managing our world. In absence of structures, we cannot manage the world. Our world becomes almost useless, almost chaos, almost disorder. It cannot be placed in a proper order in the system, right? So it is through the structure the world is running in its own position. The plane is flying through the pilots. The are flying through the pilots. The vehicles are driving by the drivers. People are working in the farm. People are working in the factory. People are just doing their own jobs. Why? Because of certain structures that they are given, rules that they are given. In the same way, even in the language, there are the structures. The rule of grammar is just properly put in the just structure, making the structure of a sentence. Prepositions are placed in the right place. Subject-verb agreement are placed in the right, put in the right order. Because of these structures, the communication is taking place. So nowhere structureless world can be functioning, right? The structuralists believe that the structures are generated by human mind, which is thought as the structuring mechanism, right? It is thought, it is made through the structuring mechanism. Human mind has a structuring mechanism, and it is through the structuring mechanism that functions. Our understanding of the world does not result from our perception of structures that exist in the world, right? That does not function because of the just perception of the structures that exist in the world. The structures we think, we perceive in the world are naturally innate, means inborn. Whatever the structures we think, whatever the structures we believe, whatever the structures we understand, we perceive in the world, they are naturally inborn, innate. They are the structures of human consciousness. They come with the birth of the human beings, inborn qualities. Those conceptual systems originate within human consciousness. All those conceptual systems come within human consciousness. That cannot go out of the human consciousness. Structuralism sees itself as a science of humankind, right? It is a kind of science of humankind. It cannot be out. It is a science. Structures are not physical entities, but they are conceptual frameworks that we use to organize and understand physical entities as wholeness, transformation, and self-regulation. There would be self-regulation, self-working, because the clouds are just working in their own position. The nature is changing. We are not changing. And there is wholeness of the nature functioning itself. In the same way, the language structures, physical entities, they also would be working, transforming, and self-regulating there. In the same way, our language also functions in the self-regulation forms, in the self-transformation forms. For example, water is whole. That is different from its component parts. Hydrogen and oxygen. There are hydrogen and oxygen. They are invisible in structures inside. But when these hydrogen and oxygens get in the connection, combination, and then there comes the visible structure in the form of water. Transformation means that the system is not static and it is dynamic, capable of change. Always there is a change. Because of change, there is the idea that is functioning, that is because of change it goes on. Self-regulation means the transformation of structure that obey its law, right? Self-regulation means functioning itself and working itself, obeying its law. No one goes out of it. Structuralism assumes that all surface phenomena belong to some structural system, whether or not we are consciously aware of what that system is. So language as a system, it is because of the system, it is because of the language functioning as a system, just it is what is going on because of these key structures going on and on in the just language, right? Language functioning as a system also function in a different ways, right? So the system cannot be found, cannot be just talked out of the language. So system, what we are talking is all the system of language, right? Self-regulation means the transformation of structure that obeys law. Structuralism assumes that all surface phenomena belong to the some structural system, whether or not we are consciously aware of what the system is, right? And it is through the system it is functioning. For example, words, dog, tree, clouds, wisdom, runs, appears, is, comes, roll, happily, grin, tall, slowly. All these are the words. These words alone cannot be regarded as a structure. So structure means parts of speech. There are noun, verb, adjectives, adverbs, right? And they are put noun, verb, and in descriptor, and that is parts of speech is a kind of structure now, right? Rules of combination: subject, predicate, or subject, that means noun, predicate means verb, and descriptor, that is a structure. So language is considered the fundamental structure of humankind. These all structures are made by the human beings, so they are called humankinds. Now another topic within structuralism: structural linguistics. Ferdinand de Saussure has developed structural linguistics. He has written a structural linguistics, and it is the structure of the language that Ferdinand de Saussure talks. Structural linguistics was developed by Ferdinand de Saussure between 1913 and 1915, and his work was translated into English and popularized in the late 1950s, right? Before Saussure, language was studied in terms of the history of changes in individual words over time. Means it was the study of historical study of words, how it changes, how it originated. That was the process of study of languages before Saussure developed the system of structural linguistics, right? And then, or that was called diachronically. It was studied, but not synchronically. It was assumed that words somehow imitated the objects for which they stood, right? Saussure realized that we need to understand language not as a collection of individual words as there was before. See, in example, dogs, trees, clouds, wisdom. That is not a structure. His idea is not understanding language in the form of the individual words. It is to be understood with the combination of the rules of combination of the sentence structures, right? See, it is not the collection of individual words with individual histories, but as a structural system of relationship among words, is they are used at a given point of time, right? Or synchronically is the structuralist focus, right? So language is to be understood synchronically, not diachronically, not historical study of the words, but the functional system, how it is working, right? Structuralist does not look for the cause of origin of language, but it looks for the rules that underlie language. Means it does not look how the word came, where it came, how it originated, but how it functioning. What is the rule of combination that underlies and govern how it functions? It is structuralist always believe in the function of the language. It looks for the structure, how they are combined, how they are made, right, functionable, right? That is the structuralist search. There are millions of individual utterances is for surface phenomena. We can see that surface phenomena, surface structure, that is visible structure, millions of individual utterances. All the literary texts written by the authors are the individual texts. They are visible just structures. They are utterances, they are parole, and the structures that govern is a language. So call the structure of language is langue in French word for language, and he called the individual utterances that occur when we speak, that is parole. Parole means French word for speech. So any text, any literary books, any authors have written the book, they are all parole. They are individual speech. There are millions of textbooks, billions of textbooks, billions of utterances, and all these parole or individual speech can be developed out of the language system. Language system is limited. Language systems have just like structures are few, but out of those few structures, billions of millions of paroles are produced. Individual texts are written. That is called structure. Just like focus of two different ideas of langue and the parole. Langue is the mother of parole. Langue, it means language system. Parole means individual speech. Individual speeches are countless. Language system is few, limited. Out of that limited structure of the language system, we create billions of in paroles, individual speeches. So the study of structuralist is not only parole, is not the parole, but the language system. That is the main focus of structuralism. For a structuralist, langue is the proper study of study. Parole is of interest only. That means because it reveals langue. Parole is only the interest. How they have presented, how the authors have produced the book by the use of parole, by their individual structures, right? Speech. And langue is the main function, main object of study of individual. Langue means language system is the main object of study of individuals. Structuralists. Structuralist critics look for the langue that structures individual literary works and that structures the system of literature as a whole. Langue looks as a whole in the form of literature, to the literature. What literature exactly is, that is what is looked by the langue, sourced by the langue. So study of structuralist is the langue, not the parole, not the individual speech, but the language system. The opponents of structure form working unit because the components of structure form working unit because they exist in relation to one another, right? They are different from one another, and the difference means our ability to identify an entity as an object, concept, and the sound. For example, if we believe that all objects were the same color, we would not need the word red or blue or green at all. So there are the differences. So that differences in the structure. Because of differences in color, the structures comes. We put red colors in one place, green color in another place, black color in another place. And all these are what we are structuring even in a language. And we make the sentence structure according to that structure of the differences. According to structuralists, human mind perceives differences in terms of opposites, known as binary opposition. Two ideas directly opposed. That is called binary opposition. If there is a day, there is a night. If there is bright, there is a darkness. If there is male, there is a female. There would be the differences. If there is red, there is a green. So black and white, there would be the structures. So even in language, if there is noun, there is a verb, there is a key object, there is adjectives, there is a key adverb, there are prepositions, and we make all those structures in the those key components of the language in the form of the structure, bring in the form of the structure with the rules of combination, rules of grammar. For example, the opposite of down is up, of male is female, of good is opposite of evil, black as opposite of white, and the like. These are the differences. Saussure argued that words do not simply refer to objects in the world for which they stand. Words do not just represent exactly. That is what the main objective of Saussure. A word is a linguistic sign consisting like a two sides of a coin, and there are two inseparable, signifier and signified. He talks about signifier and signified. Signifier means sound image, signified means concrete image, and the sign word tree means sign, and sound that comes from our mouth is called signifier, that is called sound image, and the real object tree that stands outside in the forest, that is concrete image, that is called signified. So Saussure says these signifier and signified are not always exact, matchable. Signifier is a sound image and signified is a concrete image, and the relationship between signifier and signifier is arbitrary. They are not just matching. No necessary connection between the given sound image and the concrete concept. There is no connection. There is no exact relationship. Right? The relationship between signifier and signified is merely the matter of social convention. They are guided by social convention, social tradition. This is the system. That is what it is. It is whatever the community using it says it is. We say knows. Why? Because our forefathers said knows. Otherwise, it could have been quotes, right? We say hate because it is a convention. We cannot change it. Society says hate, right? Society says knows. Society says hands, so we call it hands. We call cat because society says cat. Instead of cat, we could have said a rat if society had said rat. So this signifier and signified convention is always guided, controlled, matched with the convention, with the tradition, with the system, with the society. Society has made it, right? So it cannot be matchable because one says house. English people says house means this is the building structure. Nepali says ghar, and that is a sound image sign, that is different. And Limbu says him, and that him is different again. Rai says kim, and him and kim. See, the sound are different. That is okay. Signifier is different, and say okay, signified, and then the same. So these are the convention, right? Our perception of the world result from the conceptual framework. It is what the concept we have already made in our brain, and this is what it results. That is an innate feature of human consciousness. We have brought all these things in burn, innate nature. That is what we have brought through the birth. It is through the language that we learn to conceive and perceive the world the way we do. It is through the language we communicate. It is through the language we understand. It is through the language we just get the information. It is through the language we talk and we function, right? And the society runs. In absence of language, it is impossible to manage the whole world and the system. So language system has a structure. So focus of structuralist is to study the language system, right? Now, concept of deconstruction and post-structuralism. What is deconstruction now? Deconstruction is the idea that originated through Derrida, right? Deconstruction originated in the name of spatial difference because of differences, right? Black, white, and this is difference. It denotes the structural differences that defines sliding operation of the signifier and signified complex. It says that no final interpretation is there, no final meaning is there, no center is there, no any complete idea is there. Everything is sliding, everything is changing. No signifier and signified match there. It is only convention. And no final meaning is possible. Absolute truth is not possible. Seeking of absolute truth is always running after signifier and signified. Any interpretation of literary work is an interpretation of interpretation, an interpretation of interpretation, and again interpretation of interpretation. It goes on and on. There is no end. This sort of concept is called deconstruction, right? See, the conception of reading is misreading. This is not reading. When we are reading, that is misreading. And it does not signal an end to textual interpretation, but change in grounds. Why it is misreading? Because it does not end. There is no just end to signal, and this is the final meaning. This is only interpretation, and that change. The ground it changes. Deconstruction is a branch of post-structuralism developed by Derrida. It is a moment of It is a moment of maximum instability. There is no stable. There is no just static. Always dynamic. Always changing. Always unstable meaning. Right? Yes, that is what the idea of deconstruction. The usual undecidability of meaning, undecidability of anything, that is called a deconstruction. The usual understanding of the concept is deconstructed, right? For example, Eti in Tintin in Tibet. Tintin in Tibet is a novel. And in Tintin in Tibet, in a novel, what is said, plane crash takes place. When plane crash is there, and then there is Cheng Chong Chen is a character, a friend of Tintin, and in mountain, Himalaya, and it is informed that he is dead. And Tintin goes there, and he has a telepathic communication. He goes there and finds that and believes that this his friend Cheng Chong Chen is alive. And later it is found that Eti has taken that Cheng Chong Chen and Cheng Chong Chen, and then he is saved. He is taken care. He is loved. But the belief is that Eti is monster. Eti is unkind. Eti is just man eater. But what happens when it was found that Eti was loving, kind, human, and he saved his life of that Cheng Chong Chen. And in this sense, the already established concept is deconstructed. Now, Eti's belief was deconstructed. Eti is not a monster, it is a human, it is kind, it is loving, it is better. That idea is deconstructed. So, already established idea is dismantled, destroyed, erased. So, it is called bricolage, always changing. Right? That is what is deconstruction. It is undecidability of meaning. It is the concept of interpretation of interpretation. Interpretation of interpretation that goes on and on. Interpretation never ends. Any final meaning never comes. So it is believed that interpretation of interpretation. It is the plurality of meaning, no single meaning. Because my meaning will be one interpretation, another's interpretation will be his meaning, and continuously thousands of readers come and they go on just interpreting, and their interpretation becomes one kind of interpretation meaning, right? It is a plurality, yes, but the critics of deconstruction state that the deconstruction stands in the portion of post-structuralism, and nothing is new. Yes, critics says deconstruction and post-structuralism is same. Post-structuralism and deconstruction both have the same principles, same ideas, and there is nothing new in deconstruction. That is the idea of post-structuralism. Now, what is post-structuralism then? French literary intellectuals and philosophers brought the structuralism during the 1960s and 1970s. It spread around the globe soon. By the close of 20th century, post-structuralism had become the leading age of the postmodernism. Post-structuralism means almost the theory of deconstruction. And these three terms, post-structuralism, postmodernism, post-structuralism, deconstruction, they are the same, almost the same. It is based on deconstructive theory. Post-structuralism is based on deconstructive theory. And it is about floating signifiers. Floating means sleeping signifiers. No final meaning, no final interpretation, no final destination of an interpretation. Every text is an intertext that borrows from the previous culture. Every text is related with the past or the text. Salman Rushdie writes about his Victory city. There in Victory city, he is talking about Ramayana, where Ram was exiled for Ram and Sita for 14 years. And in talking about Mahabharata, where this Pandava are exiled for 13 years from the power, from the state. And he is talking there one character, right? And that character is a girl, and Pampa is a character. Pampa is the name of the character, girl, and she was exiled 132 years. This is what he is supporting his idea from the previous ideas. So there is a borrows. Ideas are always borrowed from previous culture. Post-structuralist claim of the death of author, and death of author means almost okay, the moment the authors write, the moment they complete their task, and the role of the author is finished. So this sort of system is called post-structuralism. Post-structuralism disconnects the text from authorial intention and psychology of the text. Post-structuralists say that there is no authorial meaning, there is no direct meaning of the author, there is no psychological meaning of the text, there is okay different thing, and then we need to find out the structure. Yes, now Jacques Derrida's influencing idea is called Derrida's concept of deconstruction has brought earthquake-like influence in the world of literature. He has claimed that there is no center. There is missed. Okay, is missed. There is no center, and neither fixed meaning of any literary text. That is what the deconstruction we talked already about. It is the scene of signified and signified, goes on and on, signified and signified goes on and on, and interpretation of interpretation, the final meaning never comes. Interpretation of interpretation moves on. There is no final meaning, an absolute meaning to be found. This sort of idea is called deconstruction, and this is called Jacques Derrida's influencing ideas, and this idea has brought magic like change in the world, that has brought great earthquake-like influence in the world in the field of literature. This is the idea of deconstruction. Right now, another idea is called discourse in general linguistics by Ferdinand de Saussure. Almost the same idea now. Saussure's course in general linguistics was published in 1916, which was constructed by his students from his lecture notes. That is the text. Later it became his lecture notes became the text. Is one of the most influential books of the 20th century. Right? It transformed intellectual endeavor in a number of fields, from anthropology and sociology to philosophy and cultural studies. Saussure treats language in the same way a scientist might treat an organism. So Saussure's treating of language is just like just like organism treating by the scientist. Right? He describes its essential features. Saussure describes the essential features of language rather than studying how it works in everyday life. Words do name things, but that is not what makes language distinct. Right? Saussure wished to describe language more abstractly as a system that is called lang, I already told you, rather than as an actual practice of speech communication, what is called parole. He talks about lang and parole. Right? The systematic understanding of language is the sign. All words are signs, but they are not signs for things. Right? They must consist of two parts or planes. Right? The signifier is the sound we make when we speak a word. Signified is the image or idea with which that sound is associated with our minds. Further, Saussure argued that signifiers exist in chains of differences and association. We know cat means a pure animal, and hat a piece of clothing because of sound differences. Whether cat means animal or piece of clothing is entirely arbitrary. It depends on the convention. Conventionally, we decide that cat means animal and hat means a kind of piece of cloth. Right? What matters is that it has a unique sound identity made by its difference from other sounds. Saussure argued that in all language there are only differences. Relation between terms on no identities, always differences are there. This is how Saussure also has introduced the concept, right, of differences. And it is because of differences the ideas are there. The structural idea has come. If all the sounds are similar, the structuralism or the difference cannot be found out. It's all right. Thank you. You can just listen these slides and read the slides and listen the speech and then make your concept of what structuralism exactly is, what Saussure's idea of signified and signified is, what deconstruction is, what postmodernism is, and how general linguistics is different, what deconstruction Jacques Derrida's ideas has brought greater influence in the world. Thank you. You can just learn from these ideas, right? Okay.